1994, one of the most innovative minds of the world made an observation. He said that when you grow up, you're told that this is how you do life. You look around and you can see that everyone gets a job, they build a family, they have some fun. If they're lucky, they save some money, and that's their life. But that life is quite boring. It's very limiting. And then you start to realize that the people who designed the way that this is the way we live life are no smarter than what you are. So why do we have to all follow that way of living our lives? Why can't we find a better way? A way that works for all of us, a way that we all can be happy and fulfilled right from the start, not waiting to the day that we retire. He decided that he wasn't going to live his life that way, that he was going to invent things that can make people's life easier and better. And that's exactly what he did. That was Steve Jobs. When you look around at the year that we have had in 2020, his inventions have made our life a lot easier. It's connected us all over the world. And isn't it time for us all to actually take the leap of faith and start to look at the way that we live our lives, to start to question every single thing that we do, every single area of our life, and actually say, is this the best way that we can do this? Is there a better way? Well, that's what I'm going to be discussing today. A way that we can all look at every single area of our life and say, is there a better way that we can be doing this? Is there a way that we can bring more joy and happiness, not only into our lives, but into every single life that we touch? I'm Karen Chaston, and I am the co-founder of the Chaston Centre, a place where you can find a more meaningful life. Are you ready to go on an adventure for the next 20 minutes? As I said, I am the co-founder of the Chaston Centre. I am a beyond loss expert. I'm also a CPA and a former CFO of a publicly listed company. Yes, I'm pretty sure that most people are going, wow, how different can those things be? And of course they are. But it's through them being completely different that you find me here sharing not only my story, but also the way that you can move beyond 2020 and create a better future for you and for everyone in your life. So let's get started. My story really begins with me realizing through my beyond loss expert and also my CFO expertise that there is a real connection between our people and our profits. And that's why I've called this the people and profits connection, the key to building a better future. And I'm pretty sure that most of us are really excited about getting rid of 2020. So to be quite honest, 2020 has been a really good year for me because I have found that we all needed to stop. We were all so busy doing this and busy doing that, but not taking the time, as Steve Jobs suggested, to innovate and to create a better way of doing things. A way that would give us back our time so that we could do things more quickly and achieve more in a shorter amount of time, which would free up our time to enjoy life. As I said, I am a grief and loss expert. So how did I go from being a CFO of a publicly listed company to becoming a grief and loss expert? and then to bring them together to assist you to understand the people and profits connection. So in order for me to tell you how that happened, I have to take you back to the 10th of July, 2011. It was a Sunday morning, and my husband and I thought that we were going to have a lazy day at home. Though within minutes, I was rushing out of the back door, looking at my 27-year-old son, Dan, lying there on the ground. We thought he had passed out. He had saliva coming out of his mouth. He was lying in the fetal position. Dan, 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 wake up, wake up. He wouldn't wake up. We called the paramedics, and within minutes, they arrived and they walked over to him, and they turned very quickly back to me. I'm sorry, madam. He's dead. Probably has been for several hours. What does one do with that information? What would you do? What did I do? Me, being my tough, ambitious CFO self, I went straight back to work, eating more, drinking more, and working even harder. I now know that Dan's passing was meant to have been my wake-up call. And as that didn't happen, life had to throw me another tragic event. And that came in the form of me making another choice. The company I was working with was merging with another, and they said to me very early on, Karen, you're not going to be CFO in the new company, but you're going to be doing everything you're doing now and more. We really want you to come with us. And initially I went, yeah, okay. What's the title? What does it matter? Until they gave me the greatest gift that anyone can give anyone else. They offered me 2/3 of my current salary. I was angry for about a day, and then I realised I'm only here for the money, and if I'm really honest with myself, I'm wasting most of it. So I chose redundancy, and that's when I started to look after me, to put me first. And through that process, I became a life coach and a grief and loss expert. But through really deep diving into grief and loss, I started to realize just how disconnected most of us are in the workplace, how we don't understand people, how we don't take the time to assist them to thrive in all areas of their lives, how we, to be honest, how we expect them to rock up each and every day, be one-dimensional, do their work, and then go home. And it's not working, is it? Let's be honest, it's not working. It's time for us to look at a better way of doing things. So how do you class your employees? Are they assets or liabilities? It's a really important question. You know, when I went to Bond University in Australia on the Gold Coast and did my Masters of Accounting degree, we actually did this exercise where we sat back and we looked at the financial statements, and as most people in business will know, employees are classed in the profit and loss as an expense. But what if they were actually reclassified and listed as an asset? How differently would you look after them? Let's look at the way we look at our assets. We maintain them, we invest in them, we make sure that they're running at 100%, And if they start to, come down a little bit, well, we will give them some maintenance. We'll give them some R&R. We will, ensure that they can very quickly be back to 100% working because they're assets. That's how we generate our income. But because our employees are not classed as assets, maybe we're not looking after them in the best possible way. At university and throughout my whole career, we would always look at the percentage of our expenses against our revenue, just to see that we could have them in line. We would budget it that way, and then we would compare our actuals to our budget, and we'd always look at the percentages because revenue goes up and down, as we all know, but our percentages should stay at the same rate, especially the ones that are, that are not fixed expenses. So we had this sort of guideline, which you can see that I'm showing you now. So cost of goods should come in around 30%, employee costs around 33, between 30 and 35. So let's make it 33.33. Other expenses around 10, your rent around 8, so that your earnings before depreciation, interest and tax, your EBIT, should come in between 15 and 20%. Up, in this display, it's 18.67. So if you compare in this scenario, for every dollar spent on employees' expenses, you'll generate $3 in revenue and retain 56 cents of that $3 that you have generated in revenue, which isn't that great because it's, you're sure you're making a profit, but are you making a great profit? So we're going to use this little exercise throughout this presentation. So what happens when you actually class your employees as a liability? Because they understand that they are a bit of a liability. You're not treating them as an asset. So we only have assets and liabilities. So what happens? They become depressed, they're in distress, they're vulnerable, they know that you think of them as being easily replaceable, they become withdrawn, disengaged, and confused. Does that sound like your employees? How much time are you spending each day in motivating your employees? It's a really important question. Because if you're spending the majority of your day overlooking employees, ensuring that they're working, you're not giving them autonomy, you're wasting a lot of your time. Your wage is not really generating income. So no wonder we're down at, retaining only 56 cents in every dollar that we spend on employee expenses. So what if we could actually easily change this? So what happens when you class your employees as assets? Okay? Believe it or not, they actually then have clarity because they know that they're valued, they're looked after. You've invested in them. You ensure that they're always working in their tip-top condition. They have vitality. They become more collaborative. They become more effective because they have purpose and passion. And normally it's aligned with the business's purpose and passion. It really is that simple. So let's have a look at the different scenario when we just actually go, let's generate an extra dollar of revenue based on our expenses. All of a sudden, our employees' costs go from 33.3 down to 23.47. And our EBIT, earnings before depreciation, interest and tax, comes in at 33.85. So we actually then, for an extra dollar in revenue, we actually retain $1.44, an extra 88 cents just by that very slight change in classifying our employees as assets instead of liabilities. So how can we easily do this? And that's what the people and profits connection is all about. It's you just having a slight shift in focus on how you classify your employees as assets, right? And I've built the People and Profits Connection program, which easily assists you to do that. And it's a 3-step process. The first step is the you factor, because you're the one that is generating all of this income, and it's really important for you to make sure that you're working in tip-top condition, not just at work, and in every single area of your life. And at the Chaston Centre, we have 9 areas of life. So how are you actually having one area thrive and the other one deplete because you're not spending time in all 9 areas of your life? This is why we deep dive into you first, because it's important that you understand that there is so much more to you than who you are in the workplace. And once we've deep dived into you, we then look at the know, like, and trust factor. Now, the know, like, and trust factor is not what you think it is. It's not a marketing exercise. It is actually about you know, liking, and trusting all of your employees, and them actually know, like, and trusting you. Because when they do that, they then understand that all the initiatives that you want to bring in to make them more efficient, to make them more productive, to invest in them, they know that it's not just about the bottom line, it's about them as well, because you want them to grow in all areas of their life. And you want to give them back time, because let's face it, time is our most important resource, something that we're all lacking in, something we all want. And when you have your employees working as your greatest asset, you'll be able to give them back time, because they will be more productive, and therefore you can reward them more. And then, of course, the last part, which is the most exciting part of this 3-step process, is the resilience factor. Now, this is where my beyond loss expertise really comes in, because there are over 40 different loss events that can affect our lives, all of our lives, which means all of us are going to have multiple major losses throughout our lives. That's right. And sure, we may know the most common ones, like death of a loved one, a divorce, a job loss, your health, your wealth, even your pets. But most of us don't understand all of the others. And 2020 has highlighted a lot. Loss of freedom, loss of choice, loss of status, changing work conditions, changing social activities, recreational activities. And it goes on and on and on. So when you understand this, you can then deep dive into it and gain the resilience that you know how to easily move beyond any kind of loss. And when you understand that, you don't go down, and you don't need to use the unhealthy habits that we have all created. Yes, alcohol, pharmaceutical, just look at the suicide rate. Isn't it time for us all to class our employees as assets so that they can understand the people and profits connection? Just imagine the world where every business embraces these concepts. It's time for us all to become Steve Jobs in the way that we innovate, in the way that we think, because it is time for us to create a better future. That's what 2020 has been all about. No one's going back. We're all going to catapult ourselves forward. And that's what this is about. That's right. You can see it. The you factor, the know, like, and trust factor, the resilience factor. It assists you, your people, your productivity, and your purpose, which all come down to more profits. And what I should really add to that, it comes down to more time. because you will produce the profits in a less amount of time, which means you will give your people more time away from the workplace, which will only enhance them when they're back in the workplace because they're revitalized, they're energized. And the beautiful part about it is when they're not even in the workplace, they'll be thinking about ways that they can enhance the way that they do things when they're back in the workplace. They're working for you 24/7. So that is why it is time for us to class our employees as assets. The People and Profits Connection. If you want to learn more about it, here is a link that you can book into my calendar, and I would love to gift you 30 minutes where we can discuss how you can easily ensure that your people, purpose, and profits are thriving. I'm Karen Chaston, and thank you for being here.